G'day folks, name's Cam, and I'm going to give you a complete guide on how to use the Adversary Builder 2025. So, you see the builder, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to make a copy. So you go to File, you click Make a Copy. It takes a little bit, that's alright, there's a lot for it to download. And what we'll be doing is we'll be going from top left to top right and then working our way down on how this Adversary Builder works. There's quite a lot of changes that have been made to the design and to the functions of it. A lot of upgrades, a lot of things that were incomplete that were completed. This is currently a beta, so this might be subject to change in the future, but that's okay, I'll make a video for that too. So you've made a copy. The first thing you do is you allow access. You see the front page, gives you an introduction. We try and post relevant information in this section as we need to. I've got a change log of things and relevant links that might be helpful to you. There's general build advice. This will change over time. The important thing to note here is that there's a game version here to select from. You can select which version of the game. So once you've made an adversary, the game version you can select and it will update your sheet automatically. There's also book maths which may or may not change in the future. There's accounts for that as well. There's the encounter tracker page. This is where you can insert the names of the adversaries that you've made. So for example, adversary to adversary, and it'll just keep track of them. So you can see all your bad guys on one screen. I'll make video for more details in the encounter tracker. For the moment, let's talk about the adversary page. This is your all-in-one adversary page. It's got everything that you should need for this adversary. When you want to make another one, you just make a copy, and there's no differences if it's a minion or a solo and all in between, it does not matter. This has everything that you should need. So, where is everything? What does everything do? Well, first of all, before you do that, you want to do this. Go to Setup and Misc buttons, and click Grant Permissions and Setup Triggers. This allows you to do just all the automation stuff that we've inserted and just makes everything work. So if you've used the PC sheet before, this should be very familiar with you. And yeah, once it's done that, all triggers have been set. That's how you know it's worked. So top left is the name. Oh, actually, before I get into that, the goal of this sheet is to make it so that everything that's important is in this box. Now, you can extend the box if you need to for higher level content, but in theory, the most important things are within this box. When you're playing the game, this is designed so you know that when it's this adversary's turn, you can look in this box and 90% of the content you need is there. So don't feel too overwhelmed with all the other stuff on the sheet. This is where the core stuff is once you're actually playing the game. So the adversary's name is in the top left corner. So let's call them Bob Uchiha. You can change the size here. There's a drop-down menu for the different sizes. There's classes. So this is one of the differences from the previous version. Now, if you select this, different things change around. For example, you just saw me select a minion. That means all the tenacity die changed, the health decreased, etc. So it changes the math. So you can select a solo, a standard, an elite, a minion, what have you. Doesn't matter. It's all here. It's all in one. You can select your clan. So we have some Team 7 things, but we will at some stage include Homebrew support for clans and Jutsu and everything. But you can select your clans here. You select the rank of the foe over here. This changes the maths. Let's make this a D rank. You can select the role over here. Let's make him a ninjutsu striker. The levels is over here. You select the levels where you support up to level 30 and down to level -3. You select the amount of players that is being fought. This changes the calculations again. You can select the affiliation over here, the different traits that are available to you. Classmod support we will have once the class mods are completed. There's a link over here to the Discord where there's just frequently asked questions. We'll also have a link to this channel itself so that people can know where to go if they're looking for help, and possibly even this video. If you found this video with this link, that's super meta. And this last one is a stat blocks section thing. You don't need to worry about it. It just selects if the stat block maker function should be in legacy mode or not. So alright, let's keep going. Here. Now, these stats have changed based on the levels and the ranks, etc., etc. What you have to do is add the modifiers where you think they should go. So for example, and when you know it's worked when you see that this box is green. For example, if I was to change this to, say, a -6, changes it to red. So it tells you, okay, this is not a correctly assigned set of stat blocks. You can double click the box and you can select from these options. And this is showing you the stats that are to be allocated. And this is where you select them. So you can see now I've inserted all the numbers. It's perfectly fine. Here's where you add custom extra modifications. It increases or decreases the amount for mods. Here's your saves. You select the proficiencies over here. You can add custom numbers here. So if I click this, it removes the proficiency. And if I add a number here, it adds a custom modifier to that proficiency. So you can customize it very easily. Over here is the armor class. And here is how you edit extra numbers into the armor class. You can see, you add numbers, it changes the number. So you can customize it as you see fit. This is a recommendation. This is a recommended amount. You can adjust it as you see fit. Here's your proficiency bonus. Let's say we really want them super proficient. That didn't work. When you see this, it will work though. There's the initiative. Again, the logic is the same. These numbers will correlate with what is the recommended initiative, number of traits, speed, DR, armor. Well, the armor isn't recommended, and DR isn't currently working, but you can edit the numbers here, basically. We've got it so that everyone has a HP gate if you want it. So this is where, you know, their max health is 70. When they get to the 42 health, they stop taking damage that turn or round for the first gate, and then the second gate is at 21 health. This is optional. You don't have to do this, but it shows you, okay, this is them at 2/3 and this is them at 1/3 of health. So you can use that for if you are using the gates feature that is described in the bingo book. Your max health is in this section here. You can click one of the buttons on the build advice and toggles if you want to customize the health, or you can change this number here to increase the maximum amount of health that they have. So I'll keep it at a 100 because I'm actually pretty happy with the default. You can edit the amount of temporary health that they have here. So if they use a jutsu or something. And what you can also do is insert the amount of damage taken here, and we'll auto-calculate it here. This is one of the big changes. We've actually made this the middle of the box because typically when you're looking at adversaries, we want you to see the amount of health and how much chakra or tenacity die they have left. So you can easily keep track of it in this section here. Insert the numbers, it will add the total here, and then they will calculate how much health they have remaining, and it will display in this box. Over here, same with chakra. How much chakra have they expended? You can edit the amount of chakra that they have over here. And there's temporary chakra points here. Over here is tenacity die. We've included a section for how much tenacity die you've spent. If you're not a solo or an elite, you won't have tenacity die, so don't worry about this. We've also added a feature where if you want to boost up how much tenacity die they have by default. Again, the multiplier function is there for a reason. So over here, this is looking at weapons and attacks. So we've got different weapons. You can select the drop downs here. You can choose which stat they use for that weapon if you'd like. It gives you a recommended amount of to hit. It gives you using that weapon an amount to do damage with, and it gives you the weapon traits over here. It also gives you an assumed number of attacks, which scales with their level and rank and stuff. This is, again, these are all recommendations. You don't have to use these, but this is what is the default by the book, and then the book's maths. Over here, we've got to hit calculations for ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. You can change which stats they use to change the numbers. By default, it's intelligence, wisdom, and strength. And these are the custom amounts to edit these to hits. So you can see I've removed the numbers, and basically it just deletes the extra. This is the defaults. So if I want to customize, I just change these numbers. You can see the logic there. Over here is the DCs, the saves for each of these, the ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. These are pretty important numbers, so we wanted it to be on the main page for you to see yourself. And you can see when we increase the numbers, it increases these amounts as well. So this is all auto-calculated for you. We'll make all the, when I remove the 0 or remove the numbers, this basically puts it back to the default. So because this guy's got decent strength, he's got a higher DC when he's using taijutsu. You can see the logic. And if there's any questions you have, I should have said this earlier, but I'll say it now. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to at the G Sheet team in the Discord, linked over here in this cell over here. If you have any questions, and we'll have a section that should hopefully be able to answer any other questions you might have. Continuing on, we've got important skills. You can select the skills. It has a recommended number of proficient skills and a recommended number of skills that have mastery. So you can select the skill that you want from over here. So pick your top 6 most useful skills, or if you're on the fly, you can just select a skill that you suddenly need to use. It gives you the stats for them. You can insert the level of mastery here, and you can select if it's proficient or not, and customize the amount of extra stats in that skill over here. Over here is the display box for traits. So you can't edit it at this stage within the box, but if you scroll down and see these 4 boxes, this is where you can select them. So when you're building the adversary, let's say you want to look at D rank traits. You want to look at all the D rank traits. Well, there's no D rank affiliation traits, but let's try it with general. Alright, you can see all the D rank traits. Now let's try and categorize it into the newly created traits categories. Let's try attacks. Are there any general trait attacks? Here we go. We've got all the traits that have been categorized as attack. So let's see what it does. The first taijutsu or unarmed attack. Yep, that sounds great for my ninjutsu caster. Doesn't really match up, but this is just to demonstrate how it works for you guys. So then we go, alright, we want to do Iron Fist. Okay. And then what that does is it adds it here. So when you're playing the game and you're DMing, you can just see the relevant traits. We can extend this box as well. So don't worry, we have enough boxes for you to use. And yeah, this will be fine. This will be fine for you to use. And in the version that you guys will be using, the boxes will increase in size as you use it. So if you have a lot of text, it will just naturally increase in size. That might make these cells over here and over here look a little funky, but being readable for you and being able to use this on the fly in the middle of a game is the most important thing from a design perspective from us. Over here, we have your clan abilities, your role abilities, and your role traits, whatever it's called, and role abilities. So yeah, that's just displayed there. Now I'll show you the extended box. This is for higher level adversaries. So you get more trait slots. Now this full trait display box might look a little different, but the concept is the same with the versions that you're using. But here is a lookup box. You can look up any jutsu that you need on the go. And what you can do is copy and paste special this information into your notes or somewhere else, into the Discord or Roll20, whatever you're using, Foundry, etc. And you can just look up jutsu as you go, very conveniently. We have a conditional turn checklist. So this is when your adversary has taken conditions. So if you go here, you can actually see all the conditions that they can take. So let's say they're bleeding, they've got 5 ranks of it, and I can see the bleeding details here. What they should do is just tell you, what does that mean? So they've got 5 ranks of bleeding. Every turn, they've got to worry about taking 5d4 necrotic damage. Let's say that bleed turns into lacerated, 5 ranks of it. It tells you the gist. So this is a really convenient tool if you just really want to track the elemental conditions or whatever conditions on the fly. And then we extend this even further. So there's more trait slots, there's more reading jutsu, and there's more conditional turn lists. As the game advances in level, this might come in handy, and then it extends for what you need. So let's just say this is a low level one, so we don't need this at the moment. So we've got sort of mostly working randomization buttons. I'll make a separate video on this, but the gist is the ones in green you can select, and you can press this randomize button and it will randomize those functions. The ones that are not in green are ones that I haven't created yet. But this is the intended randomization function in general. Again, I'll make a separate video for that. Useful info box. This is more information that you might want to know. We've got an auto calculator. There's buttons for iconic and epic, which changes things in the calculations. These are funny buttons for the future, which aren't yet invented. We always are open to taking recommendations. So if you have any recommendations for buttons that you'd like to customize things, let us know. We've got a concentration tracker. You insert your jutsu. Let's say it's Rasengan. Edit the details. Insert the casting cost initially. And then it will give you an amount of chakra that you have to spend each turn, so you can remember. As well as the concentration DC save for these jutsu. So when you get hit, you've got to roll a concentration check. This is the save you need to pass. Here is a DM notes section. You can just edit it, and do whatever you want with it. Just write things in it. I love this new sheet. We've gone over the elemental condition stuff here. Next is damages, resistances, immunities, and vulnerabilities. Let's say you want to add some resistances. You just select from here. It can be to conditions. It can be to types of damage. You can also just change the names here very easily. If you want them to have a lot of vulnerabilities, for example. But normally this should be okay for most players or most DMs for adversaries, but you can, and there's more boxes elsewhere you can insert if you have more. But yep, that's where damages, immunities, and vulnerabilities will go. Here is solo actions, elite tenacity, and phase. So solo and elite details. When you change it to a minion, it will just tell you don't need to worry about it. So this is just how to remember those details. As Bob Uchiha is a solo, we definitely need him to be a solo. We've got the trait section, which we've already gone over. We've got damage per action and example die. So if you just want to throw a number at the players, you don't really want to do jutsu, you can just look at this section and roll different sets of die. And it does scale to level. We've got a lookup box over here. This is for, I believe it's everything. Pretty much everything in the game. Yeah. And jutsu. So I think it's an everything lookup box. Although that might be this box here, which definitely has trace. So things you can look up different things. Type it in, see if it's there. We've got a Classmod Jutsu lookup box. This is still a work in progress as class mods aren't done yet. There'll be Classmod traits. We'll insert that at some point. That hasn't been categorized yet, as again the class mods are still a work in progress. And Classmod passives, we'll get this started when class mods are a little bit more close to being finished. By default, this should be hidden. What we've got here is another skills box. So if you need more skills, somewhere to store it, that information. An auto dice roller. You can just roll dice in the sheet because you set up the permissions. We've got a more advanced dice roll calculation set of stuff here. So you can pretty much do what the note says. You can do minimum 10, you can do brackets. It doesn't really do well with multiplication and division, but you can do more than numbers as well. So just take a look at this, trial it out. But it's just useful if you wanted to do secret roles. And it also keeps a log of it so you can keep track of it. Yeah, very good for if you want to like just quietly roll things. So you can see I just press the button. It'll do the calculation and then it will keep a log of what was rolled. So over here we rolled a 10, it shows me the result and then it inserts the log. Same here but for damage. It's very similar. Yeah. So just edit the numbers. So let's say I want to do a 1d20 plus 17. Click the button, toggle it on, it will delete the old one, and Bob's your uncle, Ted's your bear. So moving on, we've got Statblock makers, the two different versions. We might do it here. At this stage, this one doesn't work. Again, this is a beta, so these are functions that in the future should be fine. But yeah, we're planning to have more Statblock features to be added. There's a separate video for that. This might be where this information goes. We haven't got Homebrew support yet in the current version of the sheet, but we will in the future. We have, this is also Homebrew support and Homebrew trait support. Here's a section where if you want to write Freeform Jutsu, you can store that information. And here is information for where you can do more vulnerabilities and resistances and immunities. Oh, here is where you select the elements that you want your character to have access to. If you don't select this, then they won't have access to those types of jutsu. For example, I don't have fire, so I can't look up many fire jutsu. But if I select this, it will change color, and I can look up a lot more fire jutsu. Well, yeah, it has to match up with the name, and then it will insert the information. So let's say I want to do fireball, and there you go. There's all the information. Please note, if you see errors like this at the end where it says fire release, if you suggest that to the team that this is an issue, we can actually fix that remotely. Add us at the G Sheet team and let us know any issues with this. We'll update the master sheet and it will update for yours and everyone else's jutsu live. And that's pretty much everything. It only looks up jutsu within that level. So it won't look up C ranks. It will only look up D ranks in this section. It gives you a list of every jutsu by rank. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. Just a quick rundown of how the Adversary Builder works. I hope this is helpful. Thank you for listening, and enjoy using the new Adversary Builder 2025. Thanks.